Hi everyone, we have just come to the end here of the STEM TY Challenge 2023, and I wanted to record this video to let you know some of our journey so that perhaps there's lessons that we have learned along the way that can be useful for you too. Okay, first of all, what is the STEM TY Challenge? Well, it is an initiative whereby a range of companies that are in the STEM industry here in Cork were matched with a range of participating schools, and specifically what happened was a group of 4 students, sometimes it was multiple teams, but a group of 4 students from each school would then be matched with a mentor in one of those participating companies, and they needed to put together a video called A Day in the Life of Somebody Working in STEM. All of those videos were showcased here today, and like I say, everyone has just left now, so I wanted to talk to you myself. So what did we learn from this? Well, number one, we wanted to make sure that it was accessible to all of the participating schools and mentors. So what we did was that we had a combination of live and recorded check-ins. So the live check-ins were where we focused on mentors and milestones. Each week there was a specific milestone that the group needed to meet, and we also wanted to hear exactly how they were getting on with their mentors. But then, of course, we understand life happens and there's a lot going on. So we also had a recorded element as well, which was much shorter than the live check-in. So the live check-in was an hour long, but we recorded maybe about a 5-minute video to explain exactly how to meet the next milestone, so that then each participating team could move along at their own pace. Number 2, what we also wanted to do is that rather than just say, okay, here you go and create a video about a day in the life of somebody working in STEM, go ahead and meet your mentors 3 times and off you go, is that we phased it right down into the individual milestones so that there was a really clear map for participating students and of course the mentors as well to know exactly how to get to the final point. So the first milestone, for example, was preparing a list of questions for your mentor. The second milestone was preparing secondary market statistics about the area that your mentor works in and make sure the first meeting is in the diary, and so on from there. Number 3 is that we also wanted to make sure that there was a real sense of ownership around creativity. And based on the videos that we saw today, they were all really, really different. So we did achieve that. And it's interesting, when you want to open up the realm of creativity to people, the key thing to do is to actually give them clear guidance on what they do need and also what they specifically don't. So the very clear guidance that we gave them, for example, was that this video needed to be based around a day in the life of somebody working in STEM. And there was various different building blocks that needed to go into it, including, for example, their assumptions in the first place, their career aspirations, key things that they learned, etc. Also, we told them that it needed to be a video, and obviously if it needed to be a video, it needed both sound and vision. We also gave them the parameters around the length of time. We gave them the tools that we were suggesting to use, for example, Podcastle and Audacity for audio and Canva for the video. So we were very clear on the guidance along the way. And also, like I mentioned, we chopped it right down into milestones so that then what guidance we did give was clear, and then apart from that, that was where creativity was free to roam thereafter. Now, number 4 is we also knew as well that we did have a lot of relationships, and they're all really important. Every single one of our 11 companies, every single one of our 10 schools, every single mentor that we had along the way, every student in every team, every teacher related to every student group, as well as the broader stakeholder group, as well as STEM Southwest who was participating, as well as of course organising the event here in City Hall, as well as the in-person event that happened in UCC at the beginning. Lots of relationships. And what we did was that we just made sure that we just listened to every single different element of our stakeholder group, from the people who we were working with directly, namely the students, from the mentors, etc., and just listen to what they needed, what information they needed, what feedback they were looking for, etc., and just making sure that we didn't wait until the end of the STEM TY Challenge, namely today, to figure out whether they were happy. We made sure and checked in with them all the time, as well as make it easy to check in with us as well. But that relationship management when you're managing any sort of an outreach is so important. Now, number 5 is we wanted to make sure that the students really learned from this experience. And it's interesting talking to people about how, when it comes to working with young people, how to really cross the divide, apart from sit here and listen to the information that I'm going to share with you. How do we make sure that learning really happens? And I'm going to summarize it in one line, and that is connected to the outcome. And what I mean by that is that we shared the milestones with all of our students. We also made sure that at every drop-in session, we gave a shout out to all of those teams who were meeting the milestones. When it came to reaching out to the mentors then and seeing how they were doing, is that if anything hadn't been happening, well then that was fed back to the students. Though at no stage was anybody going to step in and do the work for them, we simply connected them to the outcome. And that is where relearning happens. It's when accountability really does happen. And we asked several times today, we asked the students different questions like what surprised you or what was your favourite part. And one of the things that came up several times is we were surprised at how much work was involved, or we were surprised at how invested we would get into it, or we were surprised at just how much we learned, or we were surprised by the diversity of careers involved, etc. Connect it to the outcome. And let the students feel, or your participants feel, the impact of if they do really well. Of course, they can feel that sense of doing really well, but if they don't, well then they feel the consequences of doing that. And I think that is where real learning very much happens. Number 6, the key thing I want to tell you here is that we prepared so much for this. The project manager who was put in place, Chloe, who was leading this project within our own business, had prepared with our team as much as was really possible right throughout the summer before the STEM2I challenge started in September. But we were operating on a much bigger basis than we had this last year, so we knew that there was going to be a lot of learning taking place. And there's an awful lot of learning in the queries that simply come in. And whether they are questions in the chat during the drop-in sessions, or whether it is questions that came in through Mentimeter in the in-person orientation, or emails that were sent in, or questions that were sent in through our customer support form, we used each of those to help us learn every single time. And we would always ask, okay, have we represented this information on the website? Or was this communicated earlier on? Could we communicate this in a different way? Was there multiple touch points with this piece of information, etc.? So your customer service touch points are stores of immense learning in ways in which that you can make the experience maybe more automated, maybe more seamless, maybe easily managed the next time. And that certainly is something that we did all the time. We were constantly iterating on the touch points that we had along the way. Now, impact. Of course, any time that anybody runs an outreach, of course the question is going to be, well, what sort of impact is there? Impact, of course, can be qualitative and quantitative. And when it comes to quantitative, it is important to just watch your numbers. So we were very conscious along the way. We had 100 students who were offered this opportunity, 10 participating schools, 24 mentors, 11 companies, 7 drop-in sessions, 2 in-person sessions. And those numbers really matter. And when it comes to qualitative, that's where we were asking people, I'm telling you we did this so often, asking people for their feedback all along the way. Not at the end, all along the way. We were running Instagram stories with the students at the in-person orientation. We had a mentor debrief as well, where we had a kind of a qualitative focus group. We ran various different questions on Mentimeter with the teachers to ask them what information did they need, what information do they need after we had presented in the first place, etc. And just being aware that when you're conveying impact, it's both. It's narrative with qualitative, and it's also quantitative with numbers. Okay, number 8, listen to what your stakeholders are telling you. So a couple of things that we did there is we found Instagram stories to be a super way to glean insights from the teenagers who were participating. But I personally took this on myself to do it, is I rang all of the teachers who were working with us about halfway through, not with any agenda in mind. I just said, how are you getting on? How is this going? What are you hearing? And also, I genuinely want to hear what you have to say, as opposed to reinforcing anything that you think that I might want to hear. And that was really important from the relationship development between us and the teachers, but also as well just to hear what genuinely they had to say. In addition as well, it was so important that we had a clear vision. The clear vision was today's output, which is a range of different videos from each of the teams where they were presenting on a day in the life of working in STEM. And that is what we achieved. And the reason that we could very clearly get towards where we wanted to get to is that we had a clear vision that was agreed among all of the stakeholder group who were participating in the STEM2I challenge this year. And also, number 10, I do want to make this point, is that answering all of the queries is super important. Responding to the feedback we get is super important. But understanding where the queries aren't coming from is just as important. We needed to root out and figure out if non-engagement was happening. Perhaps students weren't participating in the drop-in sessions. Perhaps mentors weren't getting the feedback that they were looking for, etc. Figuring out where non-engagement is happening long before it gets too late is absolutely critical. And that is a super important element of any outreach. Thank you very much to every single sponsor, every single stakeholder, and mentor and student and teacher along the way in the STEM TY Challenge.